I'm Sadhna, and you're on a curator's journey. Thank you so much for being here. My guest today is Bhairavi Jaikishan. She comes from a very talented lineage, her mother being a designer herself, and her father a very creative artist. She's going to talk about her childhood, why she took up designing, how COVID has been treating the fashion industry in general, why Indian wear is timeless, and so much more. So, let's not waste much more time and get right into it because I'm dying to start the conversation. Come along because it is a curator's journey and you, my friends, are a part of it. Let's go.
Hi, how are you?
Very
Bhairavi?
well. How are you?
I'm very well.
Nice to see you. You're looking lovely as always.
Thank you so much. Guys, can you please tell us if both of us are clear? Because normally there's one person who's not audible, so I wouldn't want that. Are both of us very clear to you? Can you hear us properly? Can you give a thumbs up or something? Bhairavi, say hi.
Hi, Rajas.
Hi, Rajas, how are you? She's Bhairavi's a very old school friend of mine, and so is Rajas. So we hope to see some Scottish. We are from Bombay, Scottish. So we hope to see some Scottishites here. Okay, I think both of us are clear for a change. I'm normally not audible, but
Uh-huh.
today I seem to be fine. Are you comfortable, Bhairavi? Can you hear
I'm
properly and
fine.
everything?
I can. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I think let's chit chat a bit for a couple of minutes till some more people join, and then we'll, you know, get on with your introduction and all that.
Sounds
But
good.
let's just wait and see if some more people join in. In the meantime, let me tell you about this show. It started off. Hi, Reena. Reena's here.
Hi,
She's a
Tina.
common friend as well. Yeah. And we were just starting off, and I was telling Bhairavi that we kind of, I started this as an attempt to keep myself occupied in the lockdown. But honestly, I am so excited and so happy with the whole thing that I really look forward to my weekends now, and I think like I'm enjoying this tremendously. So, and when I get wonderful guests like you and the viewers give good feedback, it really makes me, feel good about it. So I've even put the episodes on YouTube, if you please. How vain is that? I don't know, but they are now available on the YouTube channel, and the link is in my bio. And I'm really, excited to bring more people, and all of you have such little inspiring, there are little things which are so inspiring that it's lovely for me because I also learn a lot when I think of what I'm going to ask. I learn, I have to think, and I use my brain, and I learn a lot. So overall, I think it's great. And above all, it's such fun.
I know.
So that's my story. It's called A Curator's Journey. And maybe I'm a curator, but more than that, all of you lovely people who come on the show and who kind of have put these lovely elements of your life together to make it exciting and interesting are the actual curators. So thank you for being here, Bhairavi.
My
And if you
pleasure.
want to say, yeah, you want to say something, and then I'll do a formal introduction for you.
Well, it's always nice to catch up with old friends, and we've known each other for so long. But I think you being in Delhi, me being in Mumbai, and it's just difficult in today's day and age to really keep in touch. So this is a great thing, and it's a pleasure to be here talking to you today.
Yeah, but if you recall, we did bump into each other a few times in wedding bridal Asia. Sorry, what was
That's
that?
right.
One of
That's right.
those, yeah.
Yeah.
So luckily we have been, on and off in touch, and it's wonderful. Yeah, this is exciting and wonderful because, you're with the person for 45 minutes or so. So it's beautiful, and it's the next best thing to actually being face to face.
That's true. It's
And
always good to catch up.
yes, and my dear, I mean, everybody who's here watching us, we also feel your presence and your energy. So we feel you, as if you're our guest as well. So thank you for being here.
Yes.
Uh, yeah. So let me, formally introduce Bhairavi because I would like to do her justice. She's extremely accomplished and she's got an extremely her lineage is tremendous. So let me do a formal introduction. Bhairavi was born to extremely talented parents. Her father, Jaikishan, one half of the music director duo Shankar Jaikishan, was a creative genius whose expression in music has touched millions of souls. The golden era of music was largely manifested by this duo. So the songs you hear of Raj Kapoor and up to the early songs of Rajesh Khanna are all done by Shankar Jaikishan. If you don't know, then please Google it and you'll be amazed at the range of songs. Her mother, Pallavi Jaikishan, is a pioneer in the Indian fashion industry and is known for her timeless bridal ensembles. However, Bhairavi herself is an inspiration for anybody who wants to make it in life on their own terms. She trained in a premier institute in LA and came back and worked hard to carve her own niche in the fashion world. Her clients swear by her, and um, she designs clothes in a way that women feel extremely empowered by her fluid designs, which completely flatter the female form. Bhairavi has her feet on the ground and is now ready to innovate. In order to reach out to aspiring Indians who do not have access to expensive high street fashion, she is coming up with a new project. So that's about Bhairavi, and we are going to hear this and a lot of other things on the program. So thank you once again for coming here, Bhairavi,
My
and
pleasure.
welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me start with some questions. You obviously wanted to be a designer all along, which is why you actually studied in a premier institute in Mumbai to become a designer, and after that, even went abroad and studied for a year or two out there on the technical aspects of designing. And I have two questions here. One is that how was this experience of staying abroad and doing this designing and all that? Because a couple of decades back, it wasn't that popular. And number two, when you came back, did you actually find that, some of the things were not relevant for the Indian market? Because, there are a few things which may not apply here. Plus, the fact is that at that time, the fashion industry per se was very different in the West and in India. So people may not have been so ready to absorb what you had to offer. What do you have to say about that?
So, as far as always getting into the fashion line, I think it was most natural for me since my mother's been a designer for so many years, and it's been part of my upbringing, part of my childhood. I clearly remember in my childhood days, like coming back from school and hanging around her, watching her work with fabrics and dealing with clients and stuff. So it was the most natural profession for me to get into. And so as soon as we graduated from Bombay Scottish and finished my 10th, I joined Sophia Polytechnic in Mumbai. and I did a 3-year textile designing course over there. That was only textile designing. And after I finished that, I went to Los Angeles and I did my fashion designing over there. So the experience over there was wonderful. I think at that point in time, the Indian style of education was very rigid. It was you had to go by the book, and whatever your syllabus is, you had to be you were taught accordingly, and that was even in design to a large extent. But when I went to America, it's like you're given so much creative freedom, and your mind opens up to so many new possibilities, and it's just, and you can do anything you want. So it just teaches you how to adapt your creativity, how to tap into it, and how to make the most of it. And whereas coming back to India and you asking me whether it's really relevant in the Indian market at all, at
Or
that
did
point,
you have to really struggle to, adapt? That's what I meant. I'm sure it was relevant,
no,
but
no, not really. I don't think so. I strongly believe that education is, I tell my children even that it's like what you learn in school. 90% of it you will not be using in life. But what is important is what you learn and how you adapt it, think out of the box, and use it in your own way in whatever circumstances you are. That is the most important thing, and that is what I learned in America as well. It's just to open my creative mind, to give me the creative freedom to do whatever I wanted within the limitations of design.
so yeah, what you're saying is you have to know how to apply what you learn, and what you
Absolutely.
learn is not that important. I completely
Exactly.
get that.
So
It's right. Yeah,
it's what you do with what you learn. That is most important.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So when
You
I came
know
back
what?
from America,
Yeah, sorry,
sorry.
tell me.
So when I came back from America, fashion design in India was very low. I mean, there wasn't any fashion scene happening at that point in time. But that is the time when it really started. That's the time when the multi-designer boutiques really came into existence, and designers were looked at as professionals in a way. So that was good, and adapting was not really a problem, because as I said, it's I learned more of the technical part of fashion over there, and once you know the technical part, you can adapt it to whatever you want. You can make anything under the sun if you know the
Yeah,
basics.
that's right. I agree with you because that's what they say that always if you want to, I mean you must know how to cut cloth if you want to be a designer or whatever. I mean you can't just go and run a
You don't
company
even know how.
without knowing the basics. Yeah.
No, you don't even need to know how to cut cloth.
Okay.
You just need to know how to express what you want to the person who's going to make it for you.
Okay.
So,
So
so long as
communication.
communication. But how do you
Great.
communicate? You have to know your technicalities to communicate that to whoever's going to
Absolutely.
make it for you. You don't need to physically cut the cloth yourself. But
No, no, no.
yeah, so
You
you can
must
do
know
it.
it. You must know if he's going wrong, I guess. Maybe.
Exactly. Or if he doesn't know how to do it, you should be able to tell him, okay, do it this way and do it that way. You don't need to
Yeah.
physically do it yourself, but it always helps
Great.
to know the nitty gritty of it.
To know the trick, yeah. The other person must understand that you know what you're talking about. Basically, that's
Absolutely.
what you're saying.
Yes.
Great. That makes
Because
so much
a lot of
sense, guys.
because a lot of fashion students also keep asking me. This sketching is a big issue with children who, not children, but with people who want to become designers. Is it important to be a good illustrator, or to sketch well? And I keep telling them it's not really necessary, so long as you are able to portray what you want.
You should be
Whether
able to draw some
it's
stick
just
figures or whatever and convey it.
however you draw it, so long as it
Hmm.
conveys the message and you get your work done. That's what's
Exactly.
most important.
That's a beautiful thing to say, Bhairavi. Thank you so much. In the meantime, a few people have joined. Thank you, guys. Sangeeta Khanna is here. Geetu is here. Dimple is here. And Sonal is here, etc. Geeta is here. So thank
Hi,
you,
everybody.
everybody, and anybody, if even if I haven't named them, I really appreciate you being here.
Hi,
Now,
Suchi.
yeah, once you came back and you obviously were a budding designer, wasn't it so much easier to go piggyback on your mom, with your mom, either use her brand or work with her? How come you decided to take the hard route?
Oh, I get asked that quite often too. So
And
it's
if you don't want to answer, you needn't,
no, I
but
have no issue. I
yeah,
have no issues answering. It's frankly, I came back, and of course, I did work with her for a little bit, but I wanted to be my own boss. I like to take. I don't like taking orders from people, and I think coming back from America at that point in time, I think my creative spirits were roaring, and I needed to do something on my own. So that's when I launched my own label. I actually started off doing children's wear when I just came back from America, and
really? Okay.
I launched a brand of children wear called Knock Knock,
Knock
and
knock. How cute.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so I used to do clothes for children between the age of I think 3 to 15, and I had my first showing and exhibition, and a lot of people came, and we had all these young mothers who were coming in, and it so happened that the young mothers would fit into the clothes for the 15-year-olds. So I noticed that the mothers were buying more for themselves than for their children, and that was a little putting off. So I moved away from children's clothes. I thought that the
You
mothers
mean
were buying
they were
anyways.
fitting into the 15-year-old's clothes?
Yeah, 15-year-olds are pretty, they're almost like adults now, especially nowadays, So I thought if the women are going to be buying my clothes anyways, then why bother doing it for children? And I just moved on to women's wear then.
Okay, great. Makes sense. But that really brings me to another question that why is Indian wear such a integral part of our, fashion industry? Every big designer, name it, I mean, the mainstay is always Indian. So why is it that Indian wear comes, ultimately that's what is getting everybody, the clients, customers, etc., or money, if it may be that way, I don't know. So what is the reason for Indian wear being so intrinsically sort of embedded in our fashion world?
Well, we are Indian, and that's bound to happen. And also, I mean, if you go to see the Indian lifestyle is so celebratory in so many ways. We have so many festivals. We have, weddings are like big events in our lives. You know,
Actually.
yeah. So you have a family who starts saving money for the children's wedding from the time the child is really literally a kid. So it's a big thing. It's Indians love to celebrate, and why not? I mean, look at our Indian fashion. You can't get more elegant than a sari, and
Sure, yeah.
so there's so much you can do with Indian clothes. Indian clothes. I mean, Indian fashion will never go out of fashion in India. It'll always be there. Yes, you will go through phases where people want to wear gowns at weddings and stuff like that, but it'll never go out. It's you can't go wrong with Indian clothes.
No, I understand, and I am agreeing to the fact. I mean, I agree with the fact that Indians are very celebratory in nature in general. So clothes being sold at, for the occasion of weddings or Diwali, etc. Yes, that makes sense. But are we saying then that people are not buying designer wear for regular use? Or is it that parties, etc., anyways come under the, celebration tag?
No, I mean Indians are buying Indian clothes for all occasions. Even just to wear at home. A lot of people prefer wearing Indian clothes. Our climate suits it perfectly. You wear a cotton kurta and just it. So I mean,
But what
Indian.
about, I mean, Western wear for non-celebratory occasions, etc. We don't see that big sort of,
No, that is also a very big market, and there are a lot of designers who do purely Western clothes. Like I started off doing Western clothes before I did Indian clothes, and of course that was I had another reason to do that. But even then, I mean, Western. I think people are doing everything. You know, you go to see today, you go in the market, and you can get anything and everything. So it's not that Indian designers are not doing Western clothes.
But
It's
I
just
guess
the
maybe,
market is the fact that there is much more money in doing Indian clothes.
yeah, that's what I was thinking, that maybe, there's also a market for higher priced Indian clothes
Yes.
than extremely expensive Western clothes or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Okay, great. There's some, Tom has joined from Germany. Hi, Tom. Thank you so much. Kamu Vachani is here. Karthik is here. Arihant is here. Hi, guys. Hi, Sangeeta had said hi in the middle, so hi back to her. Okay, Bhairavi, maybe there are some people here who are aspiring designers. Would you like to say some stuff, or I mean, a few words to kind of motivate aspiring designers, or something that they can keep in mind at the time when, since they're going to be making this a career, etc.
Yeah, sure. What I think the most important thing to keep in mind is for anybody who wants to enter the fashion design business, please don't go in for it just seeing the glamour associated with it. It's not like that at all. It's very hard work. It's far from glamorous. And only go into this profession if you truly have a passion for it. I mean, don't just go in because it's hip to be a fashion designer. Don't just go into fashion because your best friend is doing it. You have to be true to yourself, and only if you're willing to work hard and you truly have a passion for it, you go for it. But the most important thing is, if you do have a flair for it, you have to be sure to identify the market. Which market, who's your target clientele, who are you selling to? That is the first thing you do. What is your style, and who is your target clientele? And then I would suggest you work backwards. That's what I do very often. Instead of making something and just selling it, I work backwards. I first see what price range I want my clothes in, and I work it backwards to make sure that I'm catering to the right market in the right price range. You have to make sure that your goods are what you want it to be, but still you have a market for it. It's no point making things that you love and which you think is beautiful, but if there's no market for it, or if it's way too expensive and you cannot sell it, it's of no use. So keep your market on track. Design what you want, of course. And find your own niche in the market. Make your own, develop your own style and stick to it. Be true to yourself.
So how do you do your market survey? I mean, is it like a formal Ernst and Young kind of a survey, or is it you just have a sense of the market because of your regular clients? How do you do it?
So now I've been in the business for very many years now. And at this point in time, I more or less know who my target clientele is. Also, I've reached a point where I design what I like. I don't, I don't do much of made to order. Most of my designs are what I want to design, and because fortunately I feel I have a market for it. I mean, I have a clientele who likes the way I design, so it's not a problem for me. But when you start off in the business, it's very important to find that space for yourself and see where you can grow with that.
Okay, great. Can you recently you were involved with Baradri, which was a charity which even Kareena Kapoor was involved, and Namrata and Ensemble, etc. Can you tell us a little bit about it and also, about charity? I mean, is it something that happens regularly in the fashion industry, or was it because of COVID that, people got together to help artisans, etc.? Tell us about that a little bit.
So I think the fashion industry is always open to charity, and I mean, talking about myself and my personal where I stand personally with charity is concerned, I'm I'm game for anything I can help out in. So if I'm ever asked, very often I give outfits. I donate outfits for charity, which are then auctioned and things like that. So Baradri started off post-COVID, because when COVID hit all of us, I think everything came to a standstill, and including the fashion industry. And most of the workers are migrant workers. They live in UP, Bihar, and in the tiny villages, and they come to Mumbai and Delhi or wherever for work. And when COVID hit, they all had to go back. And there are a lot of these clusters of weavers and things who don't really have support. So this project was started for that, and there were over 100 leading designers of India who donated 2 outfits each for charity, and this went on sale, and 100% of the profits were to be distributed within all these clusters of weavers and embroiderers and all the artisans, who basically the backbone of Indian culture, creative culture, if you say so.
Oh, that's really good because, obviously, artisans and migrant workers and all, there was major chaos initially. I don't know about your industry per se, but I'm talking about we all know what happened at the borders and all that. So it's really good when people look out for them, A lot of people have helped in their respective industries, and it's good when people come forward because one is not really sure what the government is actually going to do. So I think that was a really nice initiative, and it was high profile, so we got to know about it. And I'm sure it must be happening often. It's just that we don't know.
Yeah.
So great. Now, I know that you're toying with the idea of a new project that kind of, hits it targets the tier two cities, and it targets a more wide audience than what you're catering to currently. And it's an attempt to kind of get to people who can't get to you, or who are aspiring but they're not sure whether they can really, afford this. So, if you're comfortable, could you tell us a little bit about this project?
Yeah, sure. So basically, when COVID struck, I mean, I think all of us were forced to rethink about how we live our lives and how we work and what really we're doing with our work and our lives. So work was at a total standstill, and of course, being in the luxury fashion industry, I mean, luxury goods were really in a bad state because, after all, it's a luxury; it's not a necessity. So it sort of got me thinking as to, I think the way forward is to literally reach out to people and give them really what they want, and what they really can do themselves, and at the same time, help in setting up the lives of a lot of migrant workers as well. So,
Of
so this
course.
project is basically geared towards that. It's we've come out with a system where we can give our clients, the tools to sit and design themselves. So they don't
Okay.
have to, yeah, they don't have to go to a fashion designer. It's like you've inherited. I mean, you have to understand that because of COVID, celebrations are going to be toned down. Then, weddings are not going to be as elaborate as they used to be. You're not going to have so many parties. Everything is going to be more intimate. You're going to have smaller gatherings. You don't need to have such opulent clothes. You don't need to go to a designer for anything, basically, because your life is simplified to a large extent. So, this is keeping that in mind. It's like you've inherited a beautiful Banarasi sari from your mother, but you don't have a blouse to match it. You don't need to go to a designer to get that perfect, nice style of a blouse with a great fit. You go to our system and we will help you do it on your own. So that is what the new business is going to be like, and it's something I'm really excited about. And hopefully, it should be launched in about a month or so.
That's wonderful. And do you think, I mean, have you done some sort of surveys and all? Do you think the concept will pick up fast? And at the
I
end of the
don't,
day,
frankly, I don't do surveys for my designs. I think I've
but you
been
have
at
a
this
gut
for a
feel?
long. Yeah, I have a gut feel. Yeah, I have a
Okay,
feeling that
yeah.
this is what is needed for today, and I see great prospects for this. So.
Yeah, because design is all about the cut and the feel and the fall, isn't it? I mean, you would know better, but I
It's
think,
I don't design keeping that in mind, that the cut and the feel and the fall. Basically, my main mission when I design something is that whoever's going to be wearing it, the minute they put it on, they should feel like a princess. It's all about the feel good factor. I
yes,
strongly believe that if you feel good, you look good.
yeah,
So yeah, so whatever
so
I
true.
make, yeah, so my clothes, I mean, basically my styling is something that celebrates the feminine form. It's something that makes you feel good about being a woman. It's something that it's just I concentrate more on the feel good factor. Whoever wears my clothes has to feel good in it. Otherwise, it's of no use.
Yeah. That's an interesting point because I have noticed that your clothes are a little quirky in a little way. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I don't mean it in a negative way, but there's a little. I feel that you believe that imperfections make it perfect, or why don't you
Absolutely.
tell me about your style of designing? And perhaps it's a good time to ask you, whether you and your mom have similar design style. I mean, your styles are similar, or is there a difference if I buy a Bhairavi Jaikishan and a Pallavi Jaikishan? But more importantly, I mean, initially, I want to know what your style is and why this little Aquarian quirkiness comes into everything that you do.
So there is a lot of similarity between my mother and my styling, and that's bound to happen, I guess, because to an extent, most of what I've learned is watching her and her designs. So yes, there is a lot of similarities, but I think there is one major difference between both our clothes, which really sets us apart, and I think that has more to do with our personalities. um, my mother is a perfectionist, and she looks for perfection in everything, including her clothes. So her clothes, are everything is matching, everything is set, everything is perfect in her eyes. I don't believe in perfection. I and because I believe in, as you said, the quirkiness. I find beauty in imperfection, and because of that, I am able to experiment much more. In terms of color, in terms of styling, whatever it is, I can use two colors which are traditionally not supposed to go with each other, but very often I use them together and I make it work. So I think that is the main difference between the two of us.
Yeah,
Is
no.
my beauty, my I see beauty in imperfections.
Yeah, actually, I just love that because I think that little bit of thing makes it, very. That's what is the USP of that, uh, uh, you know, item or a cloth or the clothes, because if everything's perfect, then what do you notice? But if there's something which is either mismatched or standing out in some way, in a mismatched, in a good way, maybe, I think that's how you actually notice that item, and that's what makes it unique. You know,
Absolutely.
you worked in the Japanese market. They have this concept of wabi-sabi. So I think that is a similar concept where they believe that it's the imperfections that make something complete and perfect. So
Absolutely.
honestly, I believe in that too, and I just love it when there's a little bit of something, left out, or a little quirkiness, which kind of enhances the whole product. But otherwise, your clothes are extremely, they have a silhouette. They kind of flow along with the form of the person and all of that. So yes, they're extremely flattering to the person who's wearing it, and I think it reflects your personality. Besides anything else, I think the clothes you design are a reflection of your personality. So
Absolutely.
that's great. Yeah. So a
Yeah.
few
But that's in any
people,
creative field.
sorry,
In
just
any
say,
that's in any creative field. Any creative
yeah,
field, basically
absolutely.
what you go through in your life. I mean, my
Hmm.
the biggest inspiration is your life, and what you
Hmm.
go through in your life, your feelings eventually comes out in your work. So
Exactly. And more so when it's an artistic pursuit, I think probably, it comes like it's like spiritual or whatever. So your mind will translate it in, through your hands or whatever.
yes,
But let's not go that deep. But a few people who you might know have joined. Korubi is here. Shamma is here. Shama is
Shama from
Sharmila, and she
school.
has, yeah. So there's a question for you, Bhairavi, and after that, I'm also going to start asking a couple of questions. And guys, all of you who are listening, if you want to ask Bhairavi any question, you can start typing now because between me and your questions, we are going to be asking her to answer some stuff which you might have in mind now. So please feel free to field your questions now. In the meantime, there's a question from Shama. I have a question. In the movie Phantom Thread, the designer is perturbed when the creation is worn and the wearer doesn't behave in a fashion that lends dignity to the effort and creativity of the creator. Do you feel in a similar, I mean, do you feel this is correct? And when your creation is not carried out with panache, and if somebody doesn't wear it well or doesn't, treat it well, do you also feel offended?
Um, frankly, I've never really faced that situation. At least I don't know about it. And but if there were someone to, who was not carrying it off the way I would want it to be, I don't think I would be perturbed in any way. I mean, so long as she's comfortable with what she's doing out of the outfit, and she's able to carry it off and is enjoying it. I mean, that's fine by me. And besides, how wrong can it go? you know, I don't think it would be such a problem for me.
Okay, so when a person is trying out clothes, etc., and if you're around, you go and kind of inspect them and give some suggestions and all, or you distance yourself from it? In
I'm
terms of,
not, I don't meet every client of mine
of
unless
course, yeah.
I have to.
Hmm.
But I have a very good support system and a very good team who takes care of our clients. But if a
No, I
client
know that
specifically
I
wants,
I
yeah,
know that would be the case, but if you were around, then
if I'm around, if needed, yeah, sure, I would definitely suggest, definitely.
okay. Yeah, I'm sure if there's a way to improve, wearing that product in a different way or wearing that dress in a better way, I'm sure you would give your suggestion, maybe.
You see that all that comes in more if you're doing Western clothes. Then
Okay.
there's the room for error, whether they're carrying it on
Okay.
well or whether they're going to do justice to it. But if you're selling a sari, I mean, as I said, how wrong can it go?
Yeah, that's true.
So
Sari
wedding clothes is
is,
relatively easier for to deal with
yeah,
in that point of view.
yeah. So Anoop had joined in the middle. Hi, Anoop. Anybody has questions? Please give me your questions now. Susie is asking, Bhairavi Susan, what do you draw inspiration from? People, nature, art?
Hi, Susan. Nice to have you here. As I said earlier, my biggest inspiration is my life, and whatever I go through in life comes out in my clothes. So, I'm I'm by nature a very easygoing and a happy-go-lucky person. So I love color, I love flowers, and you see all that coming out in my clothes in some way or the other. So I would say my life is my biggest inspiration.
Inspiration.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So when you're going through a bad patch, I hope you're not designing.
Well, I don't, as I said, I'm generally a happy-go-lucky person. So
Generally,
the bad
great.
patches don't really
I
come.
know. Yeah, I can vouch for that. Bhairavi was always total what you call must person. So I don't think there'll be too many lows. It must be high, and you must be keeping everybody else also very entertained. Good
Uh,
for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and I want some more people to ask questions, please. Bhairavi is a top designer, and you won't get this opportunity again soon. So, please ask your questions now. Yeah, I had a question from one of another Scottishite, Mihir. He had pointed out that along with Malika Sarabhai and Saif, you're one of the few people whose parents are both, extremely proficient at their respective careers, and they are doing different things, but they're very sort of renowned in their respective fields. So, does it feel good to be part of a elite club like that, which where Saif and Malika, etc., belong? And does it feel good that both your parents are so excessively, talented?
Well,
Of
absolutely.
course, it
I'm,
must be.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm very, very proud of both my parents, and of course, I, I, I owe all my creativity to them, in a way. Both of them being so creative, and it's definitely a proud feeling. Whereas being in an elite club, I've never really thought of it that way. Frankly, it
Uh,
really doesn't matter.
I know.
So
That's
yeah.
true. Bhairavi is, yeah, very down to earth, so I don't think it must have crossed her mind at all. Yeah, I must tell you an anecdote. I remember when I did come to your house a couple of times when we were young, and I used to see those Filmfare trophies,
Hmm.
and that was like amazing because that's a very rare sight. And
Absolutely.
I still have that memory, so thank you for that lovely memory.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a very proud aspect of my life,
yeah. Yeah,
and
I can imagine how enriching it must be to have
absolutely, and it's
such a
even more,
lineage.
yeah, and I feel even more proud because the awards still keep coming, so that's wonderful.
Great, yeah. So, Bhairavi, somebody is praising you. It says Make Chocolates India. I'm sorry, I don't know the name, but this is Sudha. Okay, sorry, it's Sudha.
Okay.
Um, uh, she met you recently, and she says that she's a very happy personality, and it was lovely to meet you. So, Sudha has a nice message
Yeah,
for
we
you,
had a
Bhairav.
lovely
Yeah,
time.
yeah. So, Korobi says, do you feel uh, s- that as we grow older, we should tone down our color palette and choose beiges and grays? Also, what is age appropriate clothing for 50 plus ladies?
Absolutely not. You don't need to tone down at all. And if you go to see today, 50 plus, 50s is the new 30s now, the way life is going.
Yes.
So absolutely not. I mean, there is no,
No, Kauravi, no. No need.
there is no need to tone down anything. If something makes you happy, just go for it. If you feel happy wearing bright colors, you must wear bright colors. Age has nothing to do with it.
Absolutely.
Age is just in your mind. So if you can carry it off and if you feel good, you absolutely must wear the brights.
Absolutely, and incidentally, Kauravi is again herself an extremely effervescent person, so she should understand. And I believe this completely. I know people who are in their 20s and 30s who are so, so much more matured and sober than people older. So I think age is right here. You don't have to really worry what your birth certificate says. Just go
Absolutely.
ahead and do what you want and wear what you want. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Bhairavi, tell me, is this price tag on the designer wear that we go and buy, is it really worth it? And what kind of, I mean, any sort of tips for people who want to go and buy designer wear and maybe if they're not that used to it or whatever, like any tips that what they should look for if, something's costing a lakh or two or whatever, any tips, what they should look at while buying and, how they should go about it?
Okay, first of all, you're asking me is the designer price tag really
Yeah,
worth
what
it?
are we paying for when we pay that kind of money?
Oh, what do you think you're paying for? Why don't you tell me? Do you
No,
think
I
it's
mean,
worth it?
besides, well, I believe in quality personally, so
Okay.
I'm sure it's worth it. But
So
that's,
my take on it is you cannot put a price to creativity. Whatever any form of creativity, you cannot put any price to it. Be it fashion, be it art, be it music, whatever it is. There's you can't say that okay, like 50 rupees for this thought coming to my mind and another 80 rupees for that other mix of that thought, the color idea coming to my mind. You cannot pin it down to money. Creativity is a form of self-expression, and one has to recognize it for what it is. So that is my thinking. I don't think you can really put a price tag to creativity. Whereas,
yeah,
sorry, go on.
after you. Okay,
Whereas,
let me just say, sorry, and you will go on now.
okay.
Yeah.
So, having said that, you cannot put the price tag to creativity when you are actually buying the clothes. It's up to you. I mean, it's up to you whether to accept that price or not. People will price it so long as they know that they have a market for it. But if it's rejected, I mean, I'm sure they'll rethink their pricing. So it's really something very personal. I don't believe in anything being having the need to be over the top, including price tags. So I'm sure there must be a few people who think that my clothes are too expensive as well, but that is what goes in. You have to also realize that for a designer, their overheads are way higher than getting your work done from another smaller enterprise. So, I mean, if we're charging that much, there's obviously something that's gone into it that is worth the price, and we're charging that much if it's selling for that much. If you feel it's too expensive and it's not worth it, don't buy it. There will be an automatic price correction in the market.
You see, unfortunately, at times one also gets copies here and there and all, so that's where the problem arises. What I
That is
actually
what
wanted
I'm
to,
glad you brought that
sorry.
up, because
Hmm.
if you feel on one hand that designers are too expensive and you cannot afford it, whatever you do, please don't have it copied, because that is just so against everything everything that a designer stands for. You know, it's your hard work, it's your thought process, and that is, it is, nothing hurts more than that. Although they say that you
I'm
should take it as a
sure.
compliment, and that's one way of looking at it, and a lot of us designers do tend to take it as a compliment. But, you know, I mean, you're fooling nobody but yourself. You know, I mean, there are many options in the market today. You don't have to go for a copy.
I agree. I just remembered that once Padmavat came out, in that season, all the brides who got married were either wearing the designer similar stuff or copies of it, you know. So that's how people are getting influenced by movies and designers and this and that, and people who want to copy are trying to copy it, but everybody knows, a copy is a copy at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
But see, there's also a thin line between being inspired, you know, an inspiration and a copy. You know, like very
Yeah,
often when you say like movies, if you see from movies which tend to set trends in terms of fashion, you know, it's understandable if you're inspired by the look of that film, and you know, you get that similar effect. But
effect.
what I'm talking about is a downright copy. There are people
Yeah,
who buy it and knock it off, and I mean, it's part of the business, you know. In
yeah.
fact, when I was studying in America, we were taught to do it. So we were taught how
Mhm.
you go. It's part of the syllabus where we were taught how you go to a department store and how you pick up an
Okay.
outfit and you get it back and you knock the whole thing off. And then they also taught us how you go back and return the outfit the next day. So you know,
Wow,
it's part of the fashion
amazing.
business, but
Mm.
it's it's
Unethical, I guess.
disrespectful. Yeah, it's unethical.
Yes, yeah. So, Bhairavi, I agree with you completely. And just to prove it to you, I'm going to tell you how I relate with it so much because I'm a travel person. You may know.
Yes, of course.
But I'm actually a travel person, and we design holidays. Like you design clothes, I design holidays. And of course, I can't compare it with clothes, but a lot of effort and a tremendous amount of work goes into making that holiday what it is. And at the end of the day, it is an expensive proposition. So there are people who will not get it. They don't understand that, why this holiday is so expensive, and you can always take that to your person down the road and get it done cheaper. Exactly what you're saying. I'm able to relate it so well.
Yeah.
And the minute somebody else knows the correct hotels and this and the services which are required, the same thing is available at a cheaper rate. But
Yeah.
my holiday is my holiday, which I curated and I designed so carefully, and it will have a certain price, and which is not
Absolutely.
necessarily including the hours of effort which go in.
Yeah.
But we have a similar problem where, the perceived value uh, is not understood. I mean, it's not understood why that is so expensive.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's hope people start traveling again. We are
I
all waiting for
know.
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I had a couple of questions which perhaps I can ask you. Um, any color is in at the moment?
You know, I don't believe in any in color as such. I love a riot of colors. All my clothes, I have a large spectrum of colors in all my collections. And I truly believe that whatever makes you happy, you wear those colors. You know, people ask me, oh, what will go with my complexion and what colors are good for this and for that. But I just feel I don't. Actually, I think it comes down to the fact that I don't like restrictions. I don't like working with any kind of restrictions. If you tell me that okay, do me something in red, black, and blue, you know, I will feel no, but why? I want to put purple in it. You know, so that is more of my concept. I don't like any kind of restrictions when I'm designing, and
Oh,
so I also encourage people, especially for color. I mean, color can do so much for you as a person, you know. So why limit yourself to anything that's in trend? Make your own trends.
yeah. So, Bhairavi, we are going to be cut off soon. So, before that, quickly, it's hardly 3, 4 minutes left.
Yeah.
How do you relax yourself? Sangeeta asks.
How do I relax myself? Well, spending time with my family. I've got two kids, and basically, just spending time with family.
Unwinding. And would you like to design the Bombay Scottish? Nitin is asking, would you like to design the Bombay Scottish uniform?
Oh no, I won't. I am not into it. It's very boring.
Okay, yeah, I know, grays
No,
and whites,
but if
and
they would, but if they would ask me, I would gladly do it.
you would do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I think, Bhairavi, we should start winding up because I don't want to be cut off midair without thanking you properly. So, thank you so much for being here. I didn't really realize an hour had gone by. It
Yes,
was such a pleasure, and
my pleasure.
yeah, I hope maybe in another 2, 3 months we can bring you back, and you can come back and have we can have another chat. It'll be fun,
Sounds good.
and yeah, and it was a complete pleasure, and I wish we could have chatted some more. But okay, quickly tell me which is your favorite Shankar Jaikishan song?
Oh, there are so many. Can't really. It's not right to really name one, but definitely one that I like a lot is Ajib Dasta Hai Ye. Kahan se
Oh
likha.
wow, that's so golden era or whatever. I mean, that's so
Yeah,
amazing. Oh, that's an amazing. It still comes on TV, sometimes in
yeah.
various programs or whatever. Wonderful. I think it's my favorite song too. So thank you, and you
Good.
must, yeah, you must sort of join me next weekend because we have an RJ coming.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, that should be
Sounds good.
interesting. Yeah, I think I'll have to pull up
So
my
please ask him
socks.
to play Ajib Dasta for me.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll see if that can be
Oh,
managed.
wonderful.
Uh, yeah, I'll do that. And thank you, everybody, for being here. You were a wonderful audience as usual, and it was a pleasure to be here. Uh, as I told Bhairavi, I'm coming back with the RJ next weekend, so I'm sure it's going to be good fun. I hope to see you all here. And don't forget, it's 7 p.m. on a curator's journey on Instagram. And I now have a YouTube channel, if you please. And the link is in my bio. You can check that. And thank you, Bhairavi, once more.
Pleasure.
I think, yeah, I think it was wonderful. And let's say bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it because I really enjoyed talking to my guest. If you did, then you must join me every Sunday at 7 p.m. on a curator's journey on Insta Live. And here on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon before you log out so that you get notified about any new videos which get uploaded. Thank you so much again, and I really look forward to connecting with you more. Bye bye.